My name's Mike Favata, and I'm a Monroe County Sheriff's Deputy. I was at a local high school 2 Fridays ago. I did 8 classes, close to 400 kids. Spent the entire day there, and it was great. So the prevention counselor at 11 o'clock said that she's already had 2 students come forward that want to meet with me. So we set up a time to meet the following week, and the point is we're going to get those kids help. One of the kids actually was a family member, so we're going to reach out to that family member either today, if not next week, and see if we can get that person into treatment as well. And then you'll see the student themselves. Their life will change. They'll start doing better in school. We noticed this last year when I did the same program. We had a student come forward, and you look at what happened with that student. You take that worry, with this particular student's parent, and you watch their grades improve. You watch their overall health improve. So it is important what we do. So where we're going now is we're going to go to 2 different places. They're right next to each other. They work together. And that's another very unique thing about Monroe County is that all of our treatment places, whether it be through U of R, Rochester General Hospital, Open Access, Hugher Doyle, Helio, they all work together. They call each other to find out who has an open bed, or if there's a transportation to get somebody, maybe they have to go downstate. We have a place that we work with out of Pennsylvania who does phenomenal work for us as well, and they'll send a driver 4 hours to pick somebody up and bring them down there. So that's we use every resource possible.
How's your sound, Trevor?
I'm good on sound.
So again, the first place we're going to be pulling into here is Open Access. They call me frequently. They may have somebody that they're looking for, or there's somebody has a question, like they need needles picked up. This person found it after they got their son into treatment. So Mark had called me and said, hey, they found all these needles when they were cleaning out his room. What do they do with them? So we'll go down there and get that for them. Or if they find drugs in the house, we'll go down and get those drugs, and we're not going to arrest anybody. We're not going to put it into property for destruction and just say it was found by unknown. No names, no nothing. We want people to understand that they can call us. It's safe for them to do this without any type of repercussion. So one of the highest concentrations of the drug trade here is going to be down in South Clinton Avenue. That's where we see a lot of overdoses. When you look at our map that we put out monthly, you'll see a majority of these red, more blue, but red and blue dots are right in this little corridor here. So when, for instance, I stopped at a house a while back, spoke with mom and dad, and they said that they just, we know our son's down in that area. That's where he frequents. He knows quite a few people down that way. So at that time, we figured we'd just go down there and see if we can find him. So we drove around, and there he was. Stopped, talked to him for a little bit, and he agreed. He agreed to go with us. I mean, unfortunately, he left a few days after we brought him in, but it was a work in progress. It's we continue to follow up with people the best we can. Seeing how, in theory, I'm the only one in law enforcement who does this. It's what Sheriff Baxter promised during his campaign, and how he was able to put this task force together with, keep in mind, he still has an obligation to make sure we have enough deputies to take calls for service. You got to have a boss. So we have a sergeant, a lieutenant on the team. So those are 3 positions right there that you got to make sure that are covered. And then you add the enforcement side. So you have an additional 3. You have a sergeant there with 2 deputies, actually 3 deputies, on that task force. So to be able to make this work with already low, shortage of resources is, I give him a lot of credit. He did it, and we're still obviously going strong and not going to stop. So my day starts off with I'll get an email from MCAC, and they'll have all the overdoses on there that happened the day prior. So I'll take a look at those, start grouping everybody per town, area, zip code, however, depending on how many we have. Also go back and look at the ones that I had to follow up with. So ones that I wasn't able to contact, run them through a couple different systems that we have to see if other addresses came up. Have they been arrested? Are they in jail? If they've been incarcerated in the time that I tried to find them, in the time that I'm going to follow up with them, contact Dr. Trish Smith, let her know that this person's, obviously incarcerated, and she'll start working right away on making sure they're part of our MAP program. The health department, they have a woman who basically calls. She's like the telemarketer for overdoses, and she'll call the people who have overdosed and offer them services as well. And at the end of each week, she'll send me an email with who she wasn't able to come in contact with, and then I'll work on those as well. And then if she does get somebody that wants to go to treatment right then and there, and they don't have a ride, she'll reach out to me, and I'll go get them. So we, my day starts off with basically checking emails, going through the overdose list, and looking at the follow-ups that I have to do. It's a rarity. I mean, Jeremy is, let's put it this way: anybody in recovery has done it themselves. People like to say that it's the recovery community, from the sheriff's office to SOARS, but at the end of the day, we're just a tool for the people who are battling addiction. You got to think about it. We're not there with them 24/7. They're the ones that are making that change. We just put them in the right places for them to get help. But what Jeremy's done is incredible. His mother, by his side, and I see that frequently. You see, family members, whether it be a mom, dad, husband, wife. It could be anybody. How supportive they are, no matter what that person's put them through. So we probably get one or two of those a month, and once we put them in their into treatment and check on, make sure things are going well, we stay right out of it. I don't follow up, I don't check on that unless they reach out. Let them live their life. They don't need me involved in checking on them all the time. Let them live their life and move on. If they want to reach out, I remember meeting Jeremy for lunch at Leo's Bakery, probably 5 or 6 months after we had initially met, and kind of kept in contact via text. And he said, he wanted to go to lunch, and we did. We met, and it was fantastic. It was nice to sit down with him and hear how he did it. Looking at him, how much better he looked. He looked healthy. That was very rewarding. But you look at every single person he had contact with. So every person he had contact with was just another tool for him to get better.
Could you talk a little bit about the Heroin Task Force, its goals and objectives, or no?
Oh, absolutely. The Heroin Task Force, basically our marching orders from the sheriff was pretty simple. It's save lives. That's it. We didn't have a long drawn out order saying that you have to do this, and this. It was, let's see what works. I can't tell you, when we first started this, the sheriff would 9 o'clock at night send me a text message with an article that he came across with look what this town or this state or this county's doing. Let's see if this works here. We took a road trip up to Staten Island and met with the Staten Island DA on this hope program they had, a diversion program. We were up there for, I believe it was 3 days, and with the district attorney, with Sandra Dorley, and came back and we made it work here. The sheriff was like, "Hey, this is another part of our task force. Let's look at more programs like this." Livingston County does the Hero program. It's a mock overdose. Tommy Sheriff Doherty is very personable, very open. You know, shares whatever they're doing, and if it's working, hey guys, here it is, take it. He invited us down there. We watched their presentation, and we brought it back to Monroe County, and I think we've done it 7 times now, and it's very, very powerful for the students. That's just another thing that we've put on the task force, on the Monroe County Heroin Task Force. Pamphlets for realtors, for real estate agents. We developed that. We developed a pamphlet for funeral directors, and people say, "Why are you doing that?" And it's a pamphlet for the funeral director to give to a family who's there planning the funeral, to say, "Look, you can call the sheriff's office. They'll come right out and get rid of all the narcotics in that house, all the drugs, the medications. Let us come and get that out so it doesn't get into the wrong hands." I mean, it's just another, hey, look, is this something that could be useful? And it's like, absolutely, because the last thing you want is these pills get into the wrong hands or not being disposed of properly. It's important. So we look at harm reduction in our community, and it's exactly what this task force does. We have our enforcement side. That is, they do awesome work. We work a lot. I work a lot with them. They may have somebody that they're working with who at this time, let's back off. They need help. So what we'll do is I'll meet with that person and get them in the treatment.
I heard you helped Sandra Gurley with starting Project Hope. Could you please explain what that is and please preface?
Yeah, so Project Hope is a diversion program that we went down and looked at through Staten Island. Staten Island started it. It was just after a year. We were invited down there to look at it. And what that does is, if somebody gets arrested for a possession 7th charge, and the criteria is they can't be on probation or parole, it can't be associated with a felony, it can't have a domestic, related to a domestic incident, and there's a couple other things on there, but at the end of the day, what it does is says, look, you agree to treatment, you go right now, we hold this arrest, okay, we doesn't even hit the bucks. That arrest package is complete, but you're not going to court, you're going to treatment. And so we'll turn it over, that package, DA's office holds it, the public defender's office gets a copy, and then it'll go to open access through, for instance, Travis, the one that we did out of Brockport last year. So they have to successfully complete treatment, and I think there's 10 different criterias that they have to meet. And once they do that, that whole arrest gets basically shredded. It's done. It never hit their record. They don't have an arrest record. But it's a tool for us to get somebody help. If they're getting arrested for possession 7th charge, there's obviously something there. There's something going on with them that we need to address. And sometimes an arrest isn't the answer, but to use that arrest as leverage, absolutely.
What do you personally think is causing the epidemic?
If I knew that answer, I think we'd better solve it. We'd have it solved. I don't know. It's just what's next. That's the next question. Is one of the things that we think of here on our task force is, what are we setting up now in this battle against the opioid epidemic to, let's say the next one in a few years is meth. Are we going to have all these things in place to be able to hit this before it gets to the point of where we're losing a person every 2 or 3 days? And you look at what these people who are battling addiction are doing to support that habit. That's when we talk about the harm reduction in the community. So that's important as well. You look at the pawn shops that were shut down and what they were doing to help feed this addiction, help feed this epidemic by basically giving these people a shopping list to say, go get XYZ. Now you have, your local businesses, you have your national businesses, your Home Depot, your Lowe's, that are losing product to basically help fund this epidemic. It's basic consumerism, right? And who's going to pay for it? Us.
Do you see this trend slowing down anytime soon?
It,
Usage versus overdose versus deaths?
it's absolutely. I think that actually I can't say I think I know it is going down. We're seeing we've seen a decline the last 2 years in both, which is fantastic. But it doesn't mean that we get to take a break and slow down. It's when we hit zero across the board, then we can say, you know what, we accomplished something. But it's a collective. It's everybody. It's not just the sheriff's office. I mean, we wouldn't be able to do this without the help of open access guys like Travis, Rebecca Baker from SOARS. You look at Jim Wesley. Jim Wesley does fantastic work, retired, and he just constantly feeds us information and different, especially when it comes to kids, like what's going on with the vape, what's going on with the Juul. He's constantly sending us information that I can bring into the schools. I bring Jim into the schools. He did a presentation at Penfield High School. The students loved it. But again, it's it's just another person that is willing to he donates the time. He doesn't get paid for this.
Could you talk a little bit about Stephanie and Hope Dealers and Police Preface?
Stephanie and Hope Dealers, they do great work. You think of what they're doing when it comes to public safety. You have, as you said, you saw a guy driving around in a car throwing needles out at people. Now, let's take into consideration how many needles they pick up every week. It's in the thousands in one day. So you think of that, let's say that city employee who's going to that park or that empty lot to, cut the lawn, to go and clean up the garbage out of there. God forbid they get poked, they grab one of these needles. What about in these playgrounds or these kids that are there to sometimes go to that empty lot to play soccer or just play in general? The last thing you want is a child coming in contact with this. So you think of how important what she's doing just on the needle pickup part. And you add the point that she's giving food to people who are basically homeless, clothing, especially in the wintertime, they're giving survival gear. So overall, it's they're doing a great job, and that's an important role that nobody else is doing. You don't have the city of Rochester hasn't put people out there to pick up needles. It's a group of people doing it out of the kindness of their heart. What I tell people who's in active addiction is that really it's just try their hardest to listen to what people are telling them. And it's talking about people like Rebecca Baker or Deb from Open Access, Travis, the people who have been there and who are really good examples of what recovery is like. And it's something I tell them all the time, that there's hope. But trying to convince somebody in uniform is probably one of the most difficult things. So no matter what I say to them, I have to get through that barrier first, that I really am not there to question them about their past, about whatever crimes they may have committed, because you got to think about it. I'm walking up to their door. They have no idea what I'm there for. I don't know what they've done the day before. How do I know that maybe they did commit a larceny to feed feed the addiction, and they may think that's what I'm there for, to arrest them for that. So breaking through that barrier in the beginning is really trying to explain to them that, look, at no questions asked. There's no agenda here. The only thing I care about is getting you help. And once we get past that, sometimes they want to go, or sometimes they just take some information. I'll give them a pamphlet with some numbers on it. But it really is. It's just to trust the right people, and they got to get out of that spiral that they're in with running with other people who are either early in their addiction, or they just are using this person for whether their vehicle, whether maybe they still hold a job and they're using them for money. It's I've seen a lot of different really good people being used by people who could care less about them. So it's trying to get them away from the bad and into the right hands.
How do you tell the difference between someone in addiction who needs treatment and someone who's out there on the street selling dirty dope that needs to be put in jail?
Well, that's one thing that, yep. So, between the difference, what difference do I know between somebody who's just looking for help or somebody who's dealing dope? if I get this overdose, when I look at this list, this person has used a drug and overdose. I don't know if they're selling, if what they're doing. I do run things by our enforcement side when I start looking at their history and find out if there's somebody that maybe I just need to stay away from, because we could potentially, maybe we do have an investigation on that person at that time. I'm not going to interfere with that. But when you see somebody who is trying to hold a job, trying to keep a family together, that's the person right then and there that you kind of have to be that annoying, like that annoying ex-boyfriend or girlfriend, and just be very persistent and don't take no for an answer the first time. And that was with Jeremy. Jeremy was like, yeah, I'll go tomorrow, or yeah, I'll go. But when I sat there and said, look, no, we're going now. You really got to push that person to go at that moment, because as well as I do that chances are they're going to go and use again, and that could be the last time. That could be the time that they overdose and pass away.
One of the things we've talked to a lot of parents who have lost kids or have kids in addiction. What would you say to a mother or father of someone who is in active addiction?
What do I tell a family, especially a mom and dad who have a child in active addiction, is to get hooked up with these support groups. Those are extremely important. And now I didn't realize how important they were until I got into this field, until we started this. And you look at what, for instance, again, I refer to Rebecca Baker because she's been just one of the best resources for us. On top of that, she's become a very good friend as well. And I see the support that she gives parents. Look at what she did for Bernadette, what she's done for other families. A particular family that I've been working with, their daughter right now is in the hospital. Possibly going to have a valve removed from her heart from the infection. And but this has been a month long. This has been a month-long fight to get this young female away from a particular male who was getting the drugs for her, injecting her, and basically put her in this position, or helped put her in this position, versus versus her just going out and using on her own. I got her away, brought her to sat in a parking lot of a treatment place for an hour, convincing her to go in. At the same time, I had given Rebecca this family's number with their permission. I don't give anybody's information out unless they say it's okay. And then getting a text message from Rebecca saying, yeah, I did speak to the mom, and we're going to meet. So it's, that's enrolled, because now we're looking at, we're helping the family figure out ways how to cope with their child. Yet I have their child right now, trying to get them into treatment. So basically, it is just, if you have if you're dealing with a child right now, is look for the resources. We are so rich in resources in Monroe County that there's going to be something that fits your need.
What would you say to a grieving mother or father that has just lost their child to addiction?
I really don't have anything I could possibly say to any family that's lost a child. It's I don't think there is anything you can say. It's, if there is a fatal overdose, stop by and give that family some information on the groups that are throughout Monroe County for grieving families. But at that point in time, it's here's the information. We're sorry for your loss, and if there's something we can do, we'll be happy to help you. But it's a very sensitive time for somebody, and it's walking away, giving them the information is about all all I can really do. There's nothing I can say that's going to change anything.
What would you say to someone who is selling heroin, fentanyl in the streets?
Well, what I can tell the drug dealer who's dealing the product right now that's killing people is, and just like the sheriff said, we're coming for you. Our enforcement team is they're passionate about what they do. We have the right people, and that's what it comes down to, is having the right people in there and working with RPD, working with the federal side. I mean, they do phenomenal work, but these cases take time. It's not like they can, I send them information on a particular, a dealer that maybe somebody I picked up said, hey, look, it's just so you know, this is who I'm getting it from, or this is a particular house, whatever it may be. It's not like they can go right out there and arrest that person. These investigations take a long, long time, and but yeah, I mean, eventually we'll get you one way or the other.
How can people in the community get more involved?
The way for people in the community to get more involved is really just be a voice for that person, battling addiction. Get trained in Narcan, carry Narcan. It's always says you never read the comments on social media. It's the worst thing you can do. There's people that are still don't believe that Narcaning somebody can save their is going to do any difference. You're just basically enabling them, and it's false. You look at Jeremy Marconi, Narcan several times, and here he is. He's a success story. You look at a lot of these peers, these recovery support navigators. Look at Travis. I mean, these people have been Narcan, and here they are. They're making a difference in people who were once them. So for the community, it's just carry Narcan, be aware of maybe it's a coworker, or it is somebody in their family. Is educate yourself on the signs and speak out. Approach that person, see if they are battling addiction, or contact us. Let us sit down and talk to them. That happens frequently. Or somebody will reach out and say, look, I got a feeling that my son or daughter, whoever is using, would you mind meeting with them? And I'm happy to do it. Yeah, Dr. Tisha Smith is awesome. She does a great job, and so does even the jail administration, the jail deputies. I mean, a lot of these deputies have a really good connection with these people, and you're looking at one of the best ways to treat somebody. When you have somebody incarcerated, they can't go anywhere. They can't go and get drugs, and they basically, in our MAP program, they're told when they have their medications, they get their medications. They're getting the treatment they need, whether through mental health or just medical, or the medication. The program itself, I'll let Dr. Smith really talk about that, but we do have some good success out of that, and it's a great place. It's a great treatment center, just like again the sheriff says, like having the Betty Ford Clinic right here in our jail.
Is there anything you think is not working? Like, in other words, is there anything that doctors, police, legislators are doing that is simply not working?
It's hard to say because everybody's needs are different. How does a doctor, how does government develop a program that fits every single person of battling addiction's needs? We've made good progress. Like you saw, your open access. You look at the Behavioral Health Center from RGH. U of R opened up a fantastic facility, the Crisis Center, the methadone clinic there. It's they have counselors for our juveniles. They have counselors there that work with the families and the juveniles together. So we are making some really good progress in just really a short time. This has been around for, I think, really, we've noticed it about 5 years, but the last 2 years has been full throttle, with everybody trying to do as much as they can. Like tomorrow, we have our meeting with the task force at DePaul with Farringer, and that is basically all the partners, everybody in our community. I'll sit down bi-monthly on a Friday and go through what everybody's doing. So it's keeping everybody on the same page, knowing what needs the other organizations may have, and maybe what the sheriff's office could do, or what Huther Doyle can do, or what Helio can do. It's a really good networking meeting. And also our Dr. Mendoza's there from the health department, and he's constantly giving updates on what the health department's doing, which is, again, they're doing great things as well.
Do you have any last words of encouragement, wisdom, or anything else you wish to add?
It just takes, again, is utilize the resources here. I can't stress that enough, and understand that when a police officer knocks on your door, answer the door, talk to him. There's a good chance that that police officer is there to help you. There's I know we're looking at a couple new programs for 2020 that we're going to meet and discuss and see how we can implement them. And again, it's just with the sheriff and the way this the Monroe County Heroin Task Force is formed is, we're extremely flexible. We're not stuck in a rut where we have to continue doing this one thing. We continue to try new ways to get people in the treatment, new ways to come in more contact with that. Bringing peers out with me. We talked about the pamphlets we made. Look at the education part that we do with the kids in health classes in high schools. Our mock overdose presentation. I work with probation, parole. If the probation or parole officer has someone they know is using or has an addiction problem, they can call me, and I'll work with probation. Probation works with us, and to make sure that we get this person help. We send a person out to Pennsylvania who is on probation. Probation makes sure he's following through. They have no issues. He's not violating his probation, and he's alive. So it's really just comes down to is just don't give up on people, and for the people who are battling addiction, it's there is a light at the end of the tunnel. They just, once they get there, it's incredible what these people can do.